Prepare to plunge into an abyss of mystery and dark emotion. In February 1920, the South was the stage for a bizarre phenomenon. Multitudes eager for entertainment filled all the theaters, from the humblest to the most sumptuous. In an era devoid of the technology that surrounds us today, plays and magic shows reigned. But a new spectacle quickly bewitched the audience, ascending to fame in record time: a ventriloquist and his strange doll. Despite the apparent simplicity of the presentation, a man and a mischievous doll named Edgar. The mystery lay in Edgar's very nature, which intrigued and disturbed everyone who saw him. With his expressive childlike features, unusually large body for a doll of that time, and a wooden gaze that hinted at sadness or even malice, Edgar transcended the mere puppet. On the night of February 29th, the theater was packed for the final performance. The comedic routine flowed, laughter echoed, but in the midst of the crowd, a man radiated fear, fixing his gaze on the figure that both attracted and terrified those who watched it. Under the applause of that final night of glory, McCarthy's success danced on the edge of an invisible precipice. What happened that night? What dark force haunted the relationship between McCarthy and the doll Edgar? Dive into this terrifying story. Faced with all of this, the lingering question remains: where does the border lie between truth and the darkest fiction? From this point on, the veil is lifted, and the interpretation is exclusively yours. Hello everyone, welcome to the True Crime Files Investigations channel. If you are a lover of real criminal stories, get ready for an exciting marathon. Every week, we will explore shocking and remarkable cases, the most complex and intriguing ones, with an in-depth analysis of the details and motivations behind each event, which leads us to question human nature. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos, and ensure you're always up to date with our exclusive content. Leave your like to strengthen our community and motivate me to bring more and more impactful and unprecedented stories. Get ready to discover the backstage of the crime world, learn about the failures of the judicial system and the stories of victims fighting for justice. Welcome to an investigative and emotional journey. I count on you on this journey. The truth is about to be revealed. So, fasten your seatbelts, because the investigation begins now. In February 1920, the quiet southern villages stirred with an unusual intensity. People flocked to all the theaters in sight, whether modest or grand. In that era, before modern technology had woven its magic, entertainment options were different. Plays and illusionist shows enjoyed immense popularity. However, a new type of performance quickly captivated the public's imagination, achieving fame in the blink of an eye: a peculiar dialogue between a man and a mischievous doll. Despite the apparent simplicity of the act, a ventriloquist and his doll named Edgar. The true source of fascination lay in Edgar's very nature, which aroused fascination and, in some, a certain unease. Representing a child of approximately 8 or 9 years old, Edgar possessed a slightly robust build and incredibly expressive features. His hands looked frighteningly real, and his mouth, equally animated, seemed ready to utter words at any moment. One of Edgar's most striking aspects was his size. Compared to the common dolls of the time, he was notably larger. His eyes, made of wood, paradoxically conveyed a depth of emotion, a gaze that, to more attentive observers, carried a subtle sadness or even a hint of malice. McCarthy's performances quickly gained notoriety, a success largely attributed to his unquestionable mastery. It was virtually impossible to detect any movement in his lips while Edgar spoke, a feat that unleashed a series of legends. Edgar wouldn't just be a doll. Perhaps he was even a real child, transformed into a puppet by some dark artifice. Other sinister rumors circulated, mentioning that no one had ever hired McCarthy in the cities where he performed. He would simply arrive, put on his show, and leave in the same mysterious way, without interacting with anyone. This unusual talent, this ability to give voice to an inanimate object without the slightest visible effort, led many to believe that the artist practiced some kind of witchcraft. Apprehensive parents forbade their children from attending his shows. One of the myths that added to the story of Charlie McCarthy was the almost reverential care he devoted to Edgar. Although accounts from the time described him as a friendly, cheerful, and dedicated man to his audience, he strictly forbade anyone from approaching Edgar. Neither curious children nor even theater employees were allowed to touch the doll. Only McCarthy could take him out of his box, manipulate him, and put him away again. On the night of February 29th, for what would be his last performance, the theater was packed to the brim. The audience's expectation was palpable, eager to witness once more the enigmatic talent of McCarthy and his doll. The show began, and the cold night atmosphere seemed to dissipate with the warmth of laughter. The artist's comedic routine flowed through the theater aisles, the laughter intensifying with each interaction between the ventriloquist and that peculiar figure in a black suit who remained behind him. But not everyone in the audience shared the general laughter. In the midst of the crowd, a man radiated apprehension. His gaze fixed on the figure that, for so many, was a source of amusement, but that for him emanated something sinister. That would be McCarthy's last night of success. After the show ended, the theater employees approached his dressing room to inform him that they were going to close the place and request his departure. However, no response echoed from within. Intrigued and perhaps influenced by the dark stories surrounding McCarthy, they hesitated to enter, opting to call the police. Upon arriving, the authorities forced the door open, encountering a disturbing scene. McCarthy lay inert on the floor, his neck broken, and a certain amount of blood stained the carpet. After the initial shock, the workers' attention turned to finding the doll. The first hypothesis was that someone had broken into the dressing room to steal Edgar and, in the process, murdered McCarthy. However, upon opening the box where the doll was kept, they found something much more terrifying. Edgar was no longer the wooden doll with a melancholic gaze. He seemed even more unsettling, his gaze fixed on a distant point, sending a chill down the spines of the present police officers. Fearful, they hesitated to touch him, but the need to understand what had happened demanded a deeper analysis. The initial investigation revealed something that relegated McCarthy's murder to the background. Edgar was not a doll. He was, in fact, the corpse of a child. On his small fingers, fingerprints were found, and his face seemed to conceal the pallor of death beneath a latex mask. The police were incredulous, seized by a visceral horror upon examining the body. His skin was perfectly preserved, resembling leather, a fact that deeply disturbed them, making a shiver run down their spines. No one knew how to explain that bizarre event. The public's amusement, the laughter, and the good times transformed into memories of fear and terror for those who witnessed the final act. The identity of Charlie McCarthy was never discovered, nor was the way he managed to preserve the child's body. The most disturbing thing is that many of these questions would never be answered, as McCarthy took his secrets to the grave. After the incident, various theories about the child's origin began to circulate. One of the most popular suggested that the corpse was his own son, and that, faced with the pain of loss, McCarthy couldn't bear to bury him, giving him a macabre second life by including him in his shows, thus denying the death of his loved one. Thank you so much for watching this story. Your presence and support are essential for me to continue creating quality content. So, if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes. Your subscription and comments are fundamental for me to keep bringing quality content. Leave your opinion in the comments, always with respect for the victims, and together let's build an even better community. Thank you so much for following my work, and I'll see you in the next episode.